Hello, comedy nerds, comedy geeks, comedy fans. I'm Mike George.
And I'm Masaviagreer. Today on Comedy Anatomy, we have the amazing Robert Kelly.
Robert has performed on everything from The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon to last year's Colin Quinn and Friends, a parking lot show on HBO, clearly pandemic related. He's also an actor who you may have seen on FX's Louie, Trainwreck, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and many, many more.
Now, please enjoy our chat with Robert Kelly.
So, Rob, this is my co-host, Mike George. I wanted you to meet Mike.
What's up, buddy? Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
Living the dream during the pandemic, still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's interesting because you come from a big family. You have, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
No, I have a big Irish Catholic family. I have grew up, I had just a sister, but my mother had five brothers and two sisters. So there was 13 of us that lived in like a 3-bedroom in Medford, Mass.
Because when I saw that, I thought, what a better reason to want to be a comedian, you know, to stand out, to be heard. Like, how do you have a voice in a 3-bedroom with 13 people living in it, you know?
Well, it's funny. That was actually the best part of my life growing up. That was when we lived there. It was great. When she got married to my first stepfather, I guess you'd call him. That it kind of took a turn. It was pretty bad for a while. He was a kind of abusive guy, and it went south for many years. And then, you know, where I wasn't around those people, I was just me and myself. So, and my sister and me and my sister kind of split for survival mode, you know, because he used to fuck with her too. So he would, you know. And it was back in the day when you just kind of, you know, my mom, you just kind of take it. You know what I mean? You don't really, get divorced and shit like that. You just take it. And she finally did divorce him, but by that time I was a fucking lunatic. I was drinking, and I started drinking when I was like 10. So
wow.
It was pretty crazy after that.
So when you started out at 10,
that's where I kind of got my funny. I got my funny and I got my funny out of necessity. You know, I got, you know, because it was either, you know, you could fight, you know, or you could make dudes laugh, you know, and I used to do that. I used to make people laugh. I mean, I learned to fight, but I just learned to take a beating. I didn't really learn to be a tough guy. I just learned how to take a beating and not cry. When I went to juvie jail and when I got locked up the first time, that's when, you know, you really be funny, you know?
Right.
Because it was.
So how old were you when you went to juvie?
13 for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah, 13. And you know, it was a way to make friends too, you know. It was because my uncles, I had 5 uncles, and you know, one of them was very funny, smart. One of them was like a construction guy. One of them was a cop. One of them was smart. You know, one of them was tough. And one was the playboy. It was kind of weird. They were all had that personality, and I kind of I think I incorporated in the short time that I did live with them. I incorporated all of it, you know, all of them, which was good. But I think if I grew up with them, I wouldn't have been a comic. I would have been something else. I think because I was, you know, alone a lot after the age of 13. You know, in and out of juvies, foster homes. You know, I did go home for a little bit, but then I went back to a foster home, got sober at 15 off of drugs and alcohol. It was pretty much on my own since, you know, I never really went back to the house. So I kind of learned how to be funny as a tool to make friends and stuff, you know, to be able to survive situations, uncomfortable social situations. It was easier for me to, you know, crack a joke or make people laugh.
Yeah.
You know?
So do you think it's like a defense mechanism in the sense of a way to protect yourself, but also a release, right? In the sense of when you're dealing, it sounds like you were dealing with so much that comedy, I'm not talking professionally, I just mean being funny is a way of making sure you don't kill yourself. You know what I mean? I mean, not literally. I just mean it keeps you from going crazy.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's definitely that. I never was the guy who was going to kill myself, but I definitely wanted to go to the hospital for some attention. You know what I mean? I definitely wouldn't mind fucking, getting, laid up somewhere just so people would feel bad for me and give me some love for a second or two. But it was more of like, I remember I was in juvie hall. I was in this one, it was Halifax, Massachusetts. It was in the middle of a cranberry field at an old Jewish camp. They took over and made it into a juvenile lockup. So it was kind of only one road into this place. And it was pretty bad. And I remember, it was, of course, segregated inside there. The black kids hung out with the black kids, the white kids hung out with the white kids. And they used to play a thing called New York basketball. They had little hoops that were like, you could just dunk them inside of this little gym thing. And they would play New York ball. It was just basically no rules. You could just punch and kick and whatever you had to do to get the ball and score. And they started taking out all the white kids. There was 1, 2, 3. There was 3 of us. And they took out 2. There was actually 4. They took out 2 and they beat the hell out of them. One kid was so big they didn't mess with him, but then there was me. And I remember they came in my room. There was like 5 black dudes. There was one little black guy called the Godfather. He like kind of ran everything. This little dude and a little Cat Williams like motherfucker.
This is juvie.
And this is juvie. And I remember they came in my room and I knew it was my turn to catch a beating. And they came in and they all sat around me. I was just reading and nobody talked to me and they were ghosting me. And they were talking about beating up the other white kids. And they were like, I beat that homeboy up. And then he goes, the little Godfather kid was like, yo, man, you a homeboy? Are you a white boy? And I was like, I'm a homeboy, motherfucker. And he laughed. And he was like, you all right. You're all right. Leave this motherfucker alone. And it was like that second of, I was either gonna go, fuck you, I'm a white boy. I was like, I'm a homeboy, motherfucker. And I made him laugh and it made everything all right. And I was cool with those dudes ever since. So it was kind of like my mechanism my whole life. You can tell a good sex story. I can make friends. It was always self-deprecating. Mm-hmm. I knew self-deprecation was a tool. You can make fun of yourself. My mom taught me that. I remember these kids were making fun of me one time. They were just really just trashing me. And my mother told me, yeah, make fun of yourself. It takes all the fun out of it for them. If they say something about you, say, yeah, you're right. I am stupid. Yeah, I am kind of fat. So the next day I went in and they were making fun of me and they said something to my mother. I was like, yeah, she's a whore. And they cracked the fuck up. I remember telling my mother that and she was pissed. She was like, she's like, you defend your mother, you cocksucker. You don't let them say shit about me.
Yeah, you took it too far. She's like, that's not where I was going. You're just supposed to say, yeah, I'm slightly chubby, not attacked.
Right? Yeah. Make fun of yourself. Leave me out of it. But,
Exactly. So for you, is that a different approach than when you want to become a comedian? Is it less about, there's always an element of the fame and the money and all this stuff, especially when you're a kid. But when you're young, this other life that can potentially have. But it sounds like you came at it with a lot more than that, a lot more than just wanting to be on a bad sitcom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, man, there's famous and then there's funny. You know what I mean? There's people that are, they want the fame. They want the, all the money and the all that shit that goes along with it. But then there's people who are just funny, like have no choice about it. You know what I'm saying? And kind of fell into comedy because they were kind of you should do this. The guys I hung out with, we were funny all the time, like on stage, off stage. After the show, we'd hang out for hours still being funny. The trick was to get that up on stage. You know what I mean? Getting on stage that was fine, but we didn't really give a fuck about that. We were more into the hang, like even with Masavia, I mean, we would come down to the Boston Comedy Club and hang out hours before your spot just to sit in a little hallway and fucking make each other laugh. And then after the show, we'd hang out for hours. I mean, till the birds were chirping, just fucking philosophizing, talking, making each other laugh. So it was, that's just funny. I know a lot of people who are comedians, but they're not funny. Like you hang out with them, you're like, oh boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they learn the formula of comedy. Like you can learn the setup, punch, tag, and you can learn to write jokes, but then there's people that just, do it.
Yeah,
And then there's people that do both,
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's so true, man. You can learn stand-up, you can learn comedy, improv. Like you'll see people, they'll crush and then they'll get off stage and they're not jokers. They're not funny. They just, like you said, learned the craft, or I don't even want to call it the setup punch rhythm.
There's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, that's fine. I'm not one is better than the other. But to me, like the people I hung out with, we were just funny. Yeah, we were funny. And almost probably I should have tried to learn more of the formula of it. I just wanted to get on stage. It's like a really bad fucking heroin addiction, stand up.
Right.
Well, takes you to a lot of fucked up places and you do a lot of fucked up shit, and just to get up on that dumb stage for a couple minutes to get those laughs, it's crazy. Yeah.
Right. When you're young, was there another, like, I'm going to show Jenny who didn't go to prom with me? Was there any of that? Or was it really much more in the moment of hanging out and meeting good people and just doing it?
No, it was my moment of stand-up comedy. I know exactly where it was. I was going to college for art. I was clean and sober. I got a degree to some community college, Bunker Hill Community College for art. I was going to be some art teacher or something. I wound up taking acting. Always wanted to act. Always had that little bug in me. And then I did a talent show with a couple of the guys. Dane Cook was one of them, Aldo Benny, and two other dudes. And we wrote sketches and we did improv and this talent show, and there was like 200 people there. And I remember getting laughs, and I remember finishing everything and going backstage, and we were so fucking jacked up. We were so, what the fuck? I literally said, I remember saying, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. I was like, fuck everything else. And I told we won that talent show, and I told the other guys, I said, dude, we're going to do this. And they were like, yeah, dude, relax. It was just a talent. I remember them going, just chill. It was a talent show. It's just a talent show. I go, dude, fuck that. We're going to do this. And I remember booking shows. Like the next week I was booking us gigs at comedy clubs and all over. And that group kind of exploded. That improv group exploded on Boston scene. And we wound up dumping the two guys and adding a friend of mine, Jay Hall. And we were fucking killing it in Boston before we even had really stand up. Right. We would kill it and do clubs, and all the other comics hated us.
So it was more like sketch comedy, Bob.
Yeah, we did sketch. We wrote sketches and we did improv, and it was fucking, dude, I remember we did it at Boston Comedy Club a couple times.
I remember that. How good you guys were.
Because stand-up is it's just you and the audience. Obviously, if you're doing sketch, it's give and take, it's back and forth, it's working with other people. Did you love the camaraderie of sketch? Because it sounds like you like connecting with people like that in that way, like comedically joking around.
It was very competitive, man. We were very competitive. Me and Dane and Al and Jay, we inside of that sketch group, we wanted to be. Our last improv was a thing called Course of Gripes. And at the end, somebody got a thing of water in their face. And the person that got the water was the funniest person. So whoever was the funniest would get that cup of water in your face. And I remember me and Dane used to fight. He would say something, I would say something fucking crazy. I would do something, he would do something crazier. I remember one night I was just killing it. And then it was Dane's turn. And I look, and he was in his underwear hanging off the side of a window, and the place was fucking dying. And we were real competitive inside of that group to get laughs.
I always noticed that too, Bob. Even when you came to just to skip forward, when you came to New York, there was always, it wasn't a bad competitiveness. It was always like, I'm gonna fucking blow this room up. That was always your approach.
Well, yeah, because look, man, I tell people this all the time. Mo fucked me. Mo fucking he fucked me in a good way. Like Mo,
wow.
Well, Mo set you up. Either here's your moment. You know what I mean? It's like, Eminem moment. Like you either got it or you don't. He put me up one night. I remember I had the flu I used to wait around the Boston Comedy Club every night and not get up. I mean, sit there and watch these people get up. I remember one night I came up and I had the flu and I was like, I'm out. Mo comes up and it was cool as shit. Cause you know, Mo ran that club. It was fucking cool. He was a cool motherfucker at the door. And he came up around the corner and goes, yo, I'm putting you up tonight. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. And he goes, you're next. All of a sudden, I remember Jim Brewer came in. He goes, you're after Jim. I'm like, oh, fuck. This is SNL Jim Brewer. He goes, then he comes in. Jay Moore comes in. I'm like, oh, shit. He goes, you're after Jay. I'm like, oh, fuck. All right. Then he goes, then Dave Chappelle came in. He goes, yo, Dave's going up next. I was like, fuck. I mean, it's getting later and later. These people are murdering. And then there was this group called Ren, Johnny, and the Round Guy. They were a comedy duo. They, murdered. He goes, yo, you're after Red Johnny the Round Guy.
Jeez, that was that bad?
I remember, dude. And they went up and smashed the fucking place. The lid popped off. He goes, all right, you going up next? I was like, okay. I was sick. I was panicking. And it's like, look, man, you do or die. And I went up and I did it. I killed it.
You did.
And I remember Mo was looking at me and he was like, yo, man, you did it. You killed. And I was like, yeah, thanks. And he's like, nah, man, you did it. And then I remember this because you understand I had no money. I would have to take the train home every night back with tokens. And I remember I used to, oh man, it was such a long ride to 97th and Lex from West 4th. And I remember that night Mo gave me a 20. He paid me. He gave me a $20 bill. He goes, yo, man, this is for you. And I remember I took a cab home and I remember like literally like sitting there just like, oh, I never took a cab. I didn't have money. And I remember taking the cab. I'm like, dude, I'm on my way. And I was looking at these high-rise buildings. Like someday I'm going to live in one of these fucking high-rise. I'm going to have a balcony. I'm going to live in this. I'm going to get a doorman building. I remember driving all the way the fuck home. And it was like the night of my life. And then of course I almost died. I had the flu. I had no fucking insurance the next 3 days.
You proved your point, man. Like I remember.
Do you remember that night, Mo? Do you remember that?
I do. Because I would see him every night. And
yep,
he would be there with no questions, just right there. I'm right here. And that night I put him up, he fucking killed it. And I was like, this guy's fucking good. After all of this bullshit he took. I mean, following all of those people and he fucking killed it.
Yeah, and I remember not getting up. Like I would the one thing Mo did, he would let you hang, which is like I tell people, like, how do you do it? Just be there. You know what I mean? Because if I didn't go that night, if I wasn't there that night, I wouldn't have got that opportunity to go up and fucking murder on that show. Number one, what it did for my comfortability on stage in New York City, which is a thing. I don't care how funny you are. You need to have that New York comfortability. I've seen guys die at New York. Yeah. You know what I mean? LA guys that are the shit come in and just wah, because you need that New York stage comfortability, just like you need that LA comfortability, right?
It's a toughness.
It's a toughness.
No, but does New York go the other way? Like if you're good in New York, can you still crush in LA? But if you're good in LA, you can't crush in New York? Of course.
No, I think there's a LA comfortability too, man. I think there's a certain stage thing out there that you gotta, step on and have that, I feel comfortable here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That New York thing, especially at that club, you understand that club was that was bunkers, man. That was war. That wasn't supposed to be a comedy club. That was supposed to be some fucking other shit. And they made a comedy club. There was a fireplace on stage.
Well, not to mention the roster that he had. He had like a staple of fucking killers. You know what I mean?
Dude.
It's like
it was nuts, dude.
It was kind of caliber of comedy that was presented from night to night. I thought was exceptional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was those guys would roll in, but don't forget that, Jim Norton, Rich Voss, Keith Robinson, Patriceoneal, Billy Burr, Dane Cook. These are all the guys that are there. Those are the regulars just hanging out every night. Then you had these guys just dropping in, Jim Gaffigan. I mean, all these people, Greg Giraldo, all these people would be there every night, just trying to do a couple minutes in front of, I mean, look, you had packed houses, but a lot of times there was like 8 people, 10 people, sometimes 20 people. It didn't fucking matter. It didn't matter. You know, it didn't fucking matter. I remember that was the thing, just being there every single night. And then, you know, after the hang, I mean, I remember Jesus Christ, how many times did I remember, I remember Mo one night, he was like, yo, let's go. And it was like, where we going? And he goes, we're going to an underground club. I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is. We just went to an apartment building and rang a buzzer and went to somebody's apartment, but it was a club. And we're in somebody's house apartment. Yeah, dude, I remember that fucked me up. That was some movie shit. It was crazy.
Remember that shit, Bob?
Oh yeah, I remember all that stuff, man.
So, you know, you get your feet in New York.
Yeah.
What were your expectations? You know, let's say after that ride you had in the cab, and you're starting to work, and you know, Dane Cook, like, obviously, is this around shortly after he took off? Like, and that was early 2000s. Right?
No, not at all, dude. I mean, Patrice didn't, none of us did. We were all, dude, I remember me, Dane, Patrice, Billy, Al Del Benny, and Bob Marley would drive to New York to poke our head in. I had a 280ZX. I remember it was so fucked up. I couldn't get my car into, I think it was 6th gear because Patrice's fucking chubby leg was in the way. So we had to drive in like 5th gear or 4th gear. I forget what it was because I couldn't get over near his dumb leg. And we'd pull up to the Boston and we'd find a parking and just go to sleep until Mo showed up and open up the doors. And then we just hang all night long. And then we drive home.
Wasn't there a connection though? Like, I thought Dane was signed with Barry because Barry's from Boston.
Yeah. Oh, well, Dane came down, of course. Dane came down and Barry Katz swooped that young, good-looking, energetic kid up. Gone. Because you understand, Barry Katz at that time was about to build the biggest empire ever of comics to ever exist. And if he had kept it, it would be, I mean, dude,
he would be the Yankees. Crazy. He would be the Yankees of comedy.
He was for a minute. Barry Katz had, I mean, geez, Dave Chappelle, Jay Moore,
Wanda Sykes at one time,
Jim Brewer, Wanda Sykes, Jim Gaffigan, Greg Giraldo, Patriceoneal, Jim Norton, Dane Cook. I mean, all of them.
Yeah.
He had all of them at one point, but at this point, we would come
drive just to have to roll over that. What is the drive from? So you drove from Boston to New York?
Yeah.
How long is that?
That's a 3.5, 4 hour drive.
I mean, that's unbelievable. And you can't even get it into the 6th gear. You're doing that
no.
3.5 hours. Takes you 4.5.
Wow.
Yeah, we would
that is,
was that around 97? Was that like 97 or 96?
97. Yeah. Here's the thing though. Dane came to New York, got scooped up. Barry got him an apartment, blah, blah, blah. And then I believe then Billy went.
So Bill
and Bill Burr, Bill Burr, 6 months there, booked a Go pilot with Carsey Warner, with Molly Ringwald. I mean, he literally just was there and then went to LA to shoot this pilot. Patrice moved after that and moved in with Keith Robinson out in Woodbridge. And then I got a call after that and from Matt Frost, who saw my acting reel, because I did a lot of acting in Boston, and he saw a couple of the movies I did, and he was like, if you ever move here, I'd like to work with you. So I moved into Billy Burr's apartment because he wasn't there. So I stayed there while he was in LA, and if he came back, I hit the couch. So I split his rent, which was, I mean, we were on 97th and Lex. I think it was $400.
I know.
It was cheap. Yeah, it was $400 or $425. So I paid $325 and he paid the rest. And he had a place when he came back, you know. So we were fucking roughing it out for a minute. So we were all there for a second, and we would just go. I mean, the Boston Comedy Club. That's where I went.
Well, I remember Dane used to tell me, make sure Bobby, take care of Bobby.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he used to say, take care of Bobby. Make sure.
Didn't Frosty tell you to like fuck with me a little bit or like push me?
Yeah, he would say that sometimes. He would say, push Bobby a little bit, put him have him close.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember one night they used to have Black Night on Sundays at the Boston, sold out, line around the door, 2 shows every fucking Sunday.
Yeah.
And I remember Mo put me up there. Ooh, was I scared. You put me up last there. And I mean, everybody murdered. They put me up last. And I think it was Talent or Will Sylvince, who was like, I think somebody murdered. I think it was Talent just stomped on the room.
He used to do so much time in between the sets.
Yeah, he ended the show. They turned the lights on, and then Will was like, yo, whoa. Everybody was getting up. They were like, we got one more dude.
Oh, that's good.
He goes, let's give it up for this white boy. And I was like, no. But
we got one more dude.
But I went up and fucking murdered, you know what I mean? Right, and murdered out of necessity, out of, like when I was going to get my ass kicked back at Juvie Hall, I was like, fucking time to fucking kill it.
It's like survival skills, man. That's like
well, that room was a fucking kill zone. That room was.
Were you guys competitive? You were saying in your improv group or sketch group, was it hard at the time, especially when everyone's in their 20s, extra aggro, you got all the testosterone going. Can't say that. Testosterone. There you go. Thank you. But you're in your 20s, you got all that. Was there a real competitiveness? Like there's that party that's excited for someone's success, and there's that party that's like, well, fuck me,
I don't know, man. I don't think we were like, we wanted to kill, we wanted to do well, but I don't think we were ever, we didn't want to fucking, it was never a malicious thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You just didn't want to bomb, right? Cause if you let me tell you something, when you were bombing, that's when all of us would come in and watch. You know what I mean?
But what about, I'm talking broader career, like, Bill Burr comes in, he's like, I booked a pilot. Is it, that's awesome, let's go celebrate?
Oh, absolutely. Fuck yeah.
There was no.
Oh, no, man. It was Bill Burr. I mean, dude, I started with Bill in Boston. We were working little shitholes. You know what I mean? I mean, no, Bill got a pilot. Dane got this. Patrice got that. It was awesome.
It was all love. Yeah.
Yeah. We were real. I mean, dude, we were the meanest people in the world to each other, but we were we loved it. We loved it when we were succeeding and people were getting stuff. Absolutely.
I think that's rare. I think most, even friends, groups in the comedy scene, as much as you want to support each other, there's still this like, why did you get that? Oh, really? You booked that. You got that. Like there's a little bit of that going on a lot of time.
I mean, you might have some of that shit in your own insecurities because we're all fucked up. Because that stuff exists just because of your own bullshit, but not in reality. In reality, it was, fucking awesome. When that stuff started happening.
We saw a support system, right? Would you say it was like you guys were like a sort of like a brotherhood in a sense? I always felt. Yeah. I mean, it just seems like you supported each other. I mean, you were mean to each other in a jokingly way, but it was always this sort of underlying, like, I got your back. Always, if I got a gig, I'm going to take you on the road with me, or that kind of thing. I mean, you had a clique in a sense, like that.
Oh, we had a very mean clique. Because you understand, we were all fucking hammers. That club, when we got there, you understand, we got there, me, Patrice, Billy, Dane, we got there. You got Rich Voss, you got Keith Robinson, Jim Norton, you got all these Jersey guys and New York people, and then you got us Boston guys. We all fucking merged on this little club at the same time.
Yeah.
And we were all alpha male fucking fuck you,
Yeah.
suck my dick. When we got on stage, it was like, you ain't getting me. It ain't me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Was.
So it was like, holy shit. So following people, nobody gave a fuck. You just
Right.
went up when you went up, like, a lot of people, like, I want to go after him. I don't want to go up last. Or like, there's very few comics, I believe, that can just go up anywhere, anytime, no matter what, after anybody.
Right.
And I think that group of guys, a lot of those guys, they can go up, drop an hour of material in any situation, anywhere, anytime, and do an hour of holy shit comedy. And that's from, I think, directly from those days back in the day, being around that. Yeah.
When you're on stage, then are you, again, because you're so much about the innate humor and being funny, how much
Gary Goldman too? Forget Gary Goldman was in that mix. Gary was a fucking monster too.
Yeah.
Gary would come in and do a whole different thing and just change the tempo of the room, and just fucking kill. So,
right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. What was your question?
No, I was just going to ask, like, do you write on stage then?
Oh yeah. I write on stage. Like I remember Billy would sit in front of his computer and write jokes. And he was really just fucking great at that. Gary has his notebook, his little notebook that he always write. I remember if Patrice saw you with a pen and a piece of paper, he'd slap it out of your hand, just, he would never write anything down. Everybody had their own little thing.
Yeah.
I have little notes and shit. I write, I use index cards and I write, but I'll write little headers of shit. And I usually go on stage, something will happen. I'll go on stage, sit in it, and then come off and then write little, what that worked, that didn't, and then go back up. And
it's always amazing to me, because to me, I think so much of the timing, that happened in the moment that you had, how do you remember to do that again? You know what I mean? Like, you had this thing you said, and maybe where you put the word was the perfect place to put the word for the hit the joke, but maybe that's not, like, it's just more gut. Is that how you work? It's more like you just feel it?
Yeah. For me, I don't know how it works. I don't know why it works. I have little notepads, all little pieces of paper, and I just have the word of the joke in front of it. And I have to write it down every time I do a show. I have to write, like, okay, because I'm not doing that here. I'm going to do that here. I just feel it's like a weird psychotic thing that I do. And then when I get up there, every time I do a joke, it's a little different because it depends on the mood I'm in or what the crowd's giving me, or where I'm taking the joke. So every time I do it, even though you might have seen that joke before, I might drop something, I might add something. It might be a whole bigger thing. It might be a smaller thing. It might be tighter, it might be looser. It's different every time. For me, that's the way I do it.
I also remember you used to carry a recorder too, Bob. Didn't you?
Yeah, I record every single set. I do. But I don't listen to the whole fucking thing. Listening to my act is the most miserable part of stand-up for me. Having to watch, when I did the Tonight Show, I had to hook up with Lenny Marcus because, and there's another great comedian too, was back then, Lenny Marcus. I had to hook up with him because he's very, he knows formulaic. He knows, the setup, the punch, and he, cuts the fat off, and he does amazing late night sets. And he's done Letterman. He's done so many of these things because I had to do my set, watch it. I had to listen to it. I talked to Colin Quinn a lot. I had to do it like 38 times to do a 5-minute set and cut it down. And it sucked because I didn't want to do a late night set. I wanted it to be me, but that way. I wanted it to be, like you were in a club watching a comic do a club set.
A little more raw, right? A little more raw. Like
I wanted, yeah. So I wanted it to be that. So I had to add it that I like just getting on stage. What's up, fuckers? Oh, look, how's your face? And just go from there. You know?
Yeah, that
So
totally.
always, Rob, I didn't know that. I always thought you wrote or formulated your stuff. I really didn't know that you
I wrote in my head, and I did most of. I would write a joke on stage. You know, like something would happen. I'd talk about it on stage. With the passion. So basically something would happen. Like I went snow tubing. I fucking broke my ribs. All this shit went on. And I would take that when I would tell that story to somebody after, you know, I went fucking, she told me blah, and this, and I went up and they didn't have this. And then that happened. And I was like, I shouldn't have done. I tried to take that same exact thing and go on stage with it and then record it. And then the things that worked, throw out what didn't, and then add to that. Just keep adding to it. So my jokes will come out fucking real small, get real big, and then get small again, but better. So my joke will take 2 years to finish or to get to where, you know, that's why these son of a bitches doing an hour every 6 months. It's like, go fuck yourself, you know, you savants.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me go back for 1 second, though. Between the time you were 13 and the time you went to college, so was there any influences of stand-ups that you looked at to actually say, I want to do comedy?
Well, I mean, it have to be local. You know, back then, you know, there's so many more comics now because, you know, there's a million TV channels. You know,
Right.
back then there was Comedy Central just started, you know, not even. There was no, you know, and there was the Tonight Show and Letterman to do stand-up. And then they had the little, you know, even at the Improv and shit like that. You know, it was 7 minutes of clean stand-up was how you got on TV. They didn't have YouTube. They didn't have, you know, kids now can just watch YouTube comedy and listen to stand-up comedy, millions of hours of it from the age they're from 10 on. When I was a kid, you had to put a record on or a tape of Pryor or Bill Cosby or somebody. You didn't, and you went to see a show. It was at a comedy club, which you couldn't get in. So, I mean, so that you didn't have that. When I was a kid, you know, it was my friends were my Patrice, Dane, Bob Marley. These are the guys, Billy Burr. These are the guys that I would look at and, you know, and see it. And then you had like, you know, Anthony Clark and Kevin Knox and Steve Sweeney in Boston and Tony V and Don Gavin and Joe Yannetti. You'd watch these guys go on stage in front of 500 people at Nick's Comedy Stop and just, and literally fucking kaboom the place.
Right.
And you see 500 people going nuts from laughter. It was like, fuck, I want to do that. You know, Boston was very similar to New York, like what Masavia did. They would have like Kevin Knox, who was a murderer, would host Wednesday night show. So he would go up and just murder and then bring up the first open micer.
It's a little
and that's what he would do. And that's how, you know, so it's like you're going up, the host is a killer.
Right.
So you learned fucking quick to get up there and get your instincts, you know?
Like if you're going to survive, like, you know what I mean? It's not, there's no gentle, soft way in. Let's talk about the freezing cold deep end. Just getting tough. You got 4 minutes or 5 minutes. Your view pre-pandemic, because pandemic's a nightmare and it's not working for anybody, but
right.
You know, 2019, where is your mind on comedy now? You know, like how you see the scene in the world of comedy and for yourself.
Look, I mean, you can sit there and go, you know, it's not the same game. It's just a different game. You can become famous and successful off of an Instagram. You can get a TV show from a Twitter account. Funny has changed. Funny, there's a lot more that goes into what they're looking for or what the industry is looking for than just the funniest motherfucker in the room, right?
Right. How many followers you have, you know,
that shit matters. I mean, look, to me, like Colin Quinn says it all the time, and I agree with it. There's only a handful of guys and girls that can headline. you know, truly go up for an hour and
Right.
murder.
Yes.
Like I said, no matter in any room, no matter what, there's only a handful of people. A lot of people need certain circumstances to do well. It is what it is, man. And the new comics, there's a lot of funny motherfuckers coming up, and talent isn't afraid of talent. You know, you can see the talented ones rise up.
Right.
This comedy has a funny way of filtering out the shit. You know,
are you still in then? Are you still feeling strong about it? I mean, we've had some people, you know, even on our show, we've interviewed a few people now, and some people are done, you know, not done, I would say, as in they'll never do it again, but they're like, what it was is gone. And, you know, I do it, but it doesn't mean as much to me as it used to. And it's just, like you're saying, a different world.
Now, unfortunately, I'm kind of stuck with it. Unfortunately, it was my first wife. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck with it. You know what I mean? I can't. I've tried,
well,
but
I
can't.
I mean, you act. I mean,
Get
into you. I
mean,
I
love acting.
You on Louie, where you're really funny. You did a great job. I was telling Mo, I remember when you guys went for there's a great scene which I totally related to, where you guys go for something like, it's called a double. You go to like
the bang bang. Yeah,
the bang bang. That's what it was. The bang bang. Was that a real thing?
Like, well, no, he wrote it. Louie wrote it, but as soon as I read it, I remember we were filming. I was like, you know, this is gonna be a thing now, right? He's like, yeah, I know. And we really did a bang bang. I mean, we went to an Indian restaurant. We ordered the menu, and he had 2 cameras going. And he goes, we're just eating until we can't eat anymore. And we ate for 20 minutes like savages. And then he just went, cut. I'm out. We tapped out. And then we went to lunch. And then we went and ate at a diner. It was like I had no problem with that, though. I'll eat anybody on the table.
Well, I mean, a lot of your, you know, in your stand-up, you really address food issues. Which actually I can relate to. I'm in a I go up. I've lost 30 pounds maybe in the last 2 months, because now I'm sure you relate to you get to a certain size, then you go, okay, I can't do that anymore. I got to trim down. You go into some sort of workout militant mode.
Oh,
you lose.
Yeah, this is my 6th fat. This is the worst.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah, this is my 6th time. Mo knows. Most saw sexy Bobby. Mo saw Puerto Rican Bobby. Mo saw most of my sexies, but he saw a bunch of my little fats too.
Hey man, you're always a beautiful person all the way around, man. Let me tell you, but back in those days, I was dealing with my issues too, man. You know, I had a horrible drug addiction and shit. So you used to help me through my shit. So
I remember, dude, we were both fighting a lot of demons back then, man. We were fighting that shit, but we were having a lot of fun.
I know, God damn.
In between the cracks, we were having a lot of fucking fun, man.
Bobby, I'm gonna thank you, man, for being here tonight. Just to talk to you, because it's been a long time. I'm just so happy to see where your career's gone and your stand-up. And thank you, man, for being here, man.
Yeah,
buddy. Man, it's very nice to meet you, Mike, and Masavia. You know, I love you so much. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for, I mean, our friendship, and you really fucking, I mean, God bless you. Honest to God, dude, I love you. It's exact me and you out in front of the Boston, shooting the shit, and me going, who's on next? And you going, don't worry about it. I'll get you up. Relax. You know what I mean? So I love you, man. Thank you for being you, man. I love seeing you too, man.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
All right, brother.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys later.
All right, easy, man. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. Okay, Mo, let them know how they can support us.
Make sure to subscribe to Comedy Anatomy and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Comedy Anatomy and on Twitter at @comedy_anatomy.